At this point, I really need to know what the hell they did to Garcelle. The stuff that went down during the season, and of course that pathetic pile-up at their reunion, but none of these things explain her wrath after the show. Also, that reunion takedown might have been low down and dirty, but it's fairly commonplace for one or two of the housewives to bear the brunt every season. But now that Garcelle hasn't followed the entire cast, with the exception of Kathy Hilton and Jennifer Tilly, she even went as far as unfollowing Sutton's business. It would appear that there's more to her exit than meets the eye. It's giving scorched earth. Hit that like button if you're still just as confused and as intrigued as I am right now. Fan theories aside, Luann from the original Real Housewives of New York City has already thrown her 2 cents worth, saying there always is, darling. Now it's quite clear that Garcelle is furious based on how she snubbed the toast after their reunion wrapped up its filming. She stormed off, clearly fed up with the whole thing, and could be seen saying, I can't do this. Again, that is pretty commonplace after a reunion takedown. Mia had a meltdown at the Real Housewives of Potomac season 9 reunion when the girls cornered her about how she was not protecting her children and instead generating elaborate scandals that are actually harmful to them.
That's it.
The truth hurts, I guess.
You've been knowing me since before I got here.
Now, this was not nearly as dramatic as that, but the aftermath of that reunion, Garcelle is literally scrubbing her association with the show at this point. And my thing is, there's obviously more to this than we are told. Drop a heart emoji in the comments if you feel like she's making the ultimate power move. And now Lisa Vanderpump is adding to the fray. In an interview with Us Weekly, Vanderpump shaded the cast, saying Garcelle came to the show with a successful career and leaves with a successful career. She can't say the same for some of the girlies whose pop culture capital revolves around the show. Lisa revealed that she has not been watching the show since she left on season 9 and that Garcelle was the only upside left over there. There's no upside for me watching the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. The only one I really liked was Garcelle. I have a good relationship with her. Now it's time for her to move on. She was somebody before and she'll be somebody after. Not everyone is like that. A lot of people are defined by housewives. Okay, period. Now, Garcelle was actually pretty classy in her announcement, thanking fans, production, cast and crew, and Andy for the platform. Now, despite Andy Cohen telling her the door will remain open should she want to return at any point, Vanderpump is telling her to move on, go pursue other projects and leave the show entirely. And since the exit, she's been banging out subliminals about choosing herself. Okay, you better work, mama. I don't think Erika Jayne and Bozoma's reactions to the announcement helped either. Now, the pair appeared on Watch What Happens Live, where they had the weirdest, nastiest reaction about Garcelle leaving the show.
Ladies. You have no thoughts on it? Neither of you?
Erica, say something.
You say something. You say something.
Look,
Won't he do it?
Ooh,
And that's an inside joke.
Okay.
Okay.
What the hell? Bose has gotten the chunk of the backlash for how she's been moving here. At the reunion, she came in hot to interrogate Garcelle about a number of things, including shady insinuations about Dorit's house break-in. And look, no one is telling Bozoma to just sit there and shut up about some of these issues, especially since she just got here and might not have a full grasp of the complexities to some of the things she's now commenting on. At least I know I don't take any issue with that. That's the whole point of reunions. And Bose did not owe Garcelle any loyalty either, so I guess it's all fair in Housewives and war. But where she loses many people, myself included, is the fact that she has, out of the blue, seemed pretty intent on spearheading the pileup. From the reunion to some of the comments outside, the smirks, the faces, the laughter, and the rest of it, it's been pretty clear that she's siding with Erika Jayne, Dorit, and Kyle. And I do have a theory about that, but before we get into it, I think Erika is really smart. When she said, "This is an inside joke" on Watch What Happens Live, she was making it known that she, Bose, and a couple of the girls are in a tight circle where the said inside jokes are shared. Now, we've talked about the girls, the shade, the exits, but let's get into the real puppet master. If you're still here, you're in too deep not to like this video, okay? Now, there is one dark theory on what actually went down here, and I think it started with the casting of Bozoma. I also think it is connected to a couple of things that happened during season 13 involving involving Garcelle, Dorit, and Kyle. Stick around and watch until the end for that unfiltered analysis. But for now, I want to talk for a second about Andy Cohen. He's an interesting character to me, and I'll tell you why. As the executive producer of the Real Housewives franchise, you'd expect a level of neutrality. But time and time again, Andy inserts himself into the drama, whether subtly or not. Take Kenya's suspension, for instance. Instead of letting the show speak for itself, Andy and his podcast co-host piled into the narrative that Kenya was the one in the wrong. He further stoked the flames by bringing on Brit Edie to explain her side of the story, which was vague at best and ended up doing nothing to clear the air. It gave damage control, but without the damage actually being controlled. For someone who's supposed to be overseeing this as a producer, Andy tends to play favorites, and this situation was no exception. That's why people have clocked his behavior, because he doesn't sit back and moderate. He shapes the narrative. Is he as messy as I think he actually is? I need to hear what you guys have to say in the comments down below. Like and share this video and subscribe to the channel. So what really happened here? First, there's the theory that Bozoma's arrival was a strategic disruption. Some fans speculated that introducing another black woman might have been Bravo's way of neutralizing Garcelle's voice. On the surface, Bozoma, brilliant, accomplished, and unafraid, seemed like an asset to the cast. But when Garcelle began calling out microaggressions, including branding Dorit an unconscious Karen, it created tension that perhaps Bravo did not anticipate. Though it's offensive to imply that two black women couldn't share the space, the optics of Bozoma spearheading the takedown of Garcelle when they had no prior on-camera conflict has fueled conspiracy theories. Did Bozoma knowingly play into that dynamic? Highly unlikely. She has agency, but regardless of intent, the results were striking. There's the idea that Garcelle saw the writing on the wall. For seasons, she's been accused of being too guarded, too squeaky clean, too unwilling to spill her own tea, while others hemorrhage their own personal lives for storylines. When the cast began to frame her privacy as a problem, either open up or be taken down, and rather than offer herself up as tabloid fodder, Garcelle chose the exit. A power move, no doubt, but also one rooted in self-preservation. Then the Sutton, Garcelle unfollowed not only Sutton, but Sutton's business account as well. A surgical and symbolic move. Sutton's cozying up to Kyle and failure to speak out during the reunion may have crossed a line Garcelle couldn't ignore. Maybe it wasn't betrayal, but it certainly wasn't support. The image of Garcelle seated at the end of the couch during the reunion, a position typically reserved for those with the least impact, might have been the final straw. If Bravo didn't value her presence and the closest friend on the show wouldn't publicly back her, what was left to stay for? Well, the check, some would say. But Garcelle's resume and Lisa Vanderpump would beg to differ. The cameras had stopped rolling, the reunion lights had dimmed, and the cast gathered for the traditional post-reunion toast. But Garcelle Beauvais was nowhere in sight. Instead, she was seen walking away, her final words echoing, "I'm out." This wasn't a dramatic exit. It was a culmination of simmering tensions, silent betrayals, and a friendship that had run its course. In the weeks following her departure, Garcelle made a statement louder than any confessional. She unfollowed nearly the entire RHOBH cast on Instagram. Notably, she continued to follow only Kathy Hilton and Jennifer Tilly, signaling where her loyalties remain. The most surprising unfollow: Sutton Stracke, her once inseparable ally. Garcelle and Sutton's bond was once the heartwarming subplot on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Their mutual support provided a respite from the show's usual drama. However, fans and fellow cast members often criticized Garcelle for being too protective of Sutton, suggesting it hindered her ability to form other connections. The turning point came when Sutton remained silent during an onslaught of attacks directed at Garcelle by Erica Jane, Kyle, Dorit, and Bozoma. Garcelle, who had spent most of her time on the show defending Sutton, found the lack of reciprocity glaring. Kyle Richards, often seen as the matriarch of The Real Housewives actress of Beverly Hills, has long held sway over the group's dynamics. Sutton's perceived need for Kyle's approval didn't go unnoticed. Garcelle had previously hinted at Sutton's pursuit of Kyle's affection, a dynamic that puzzled many, especially given Kyle's frequent criticisms of Sutton. She was paying her dust. Some speculate that Sutton's strained relationship with her own mother might explain her tendency to seek validation from those who are emotionally unavailable. Okay, let's leave that for the psychologist. Season 14's reunion was particularly brutal for Garcelle. Subjected to intense scrutiny and criticism, she found herself isolated. Erica's complained that Garcelle was uninteresting because she did not reveal enough about her personal life was especially biting. The implication was clear. If Garcelle didn't start sharing more, the group would dig deeper, potentially unearthing drama that she preferred to keep private. Garcelle's decision to unfollow most of her castmates was a clear indication of fractured relationships. Share your unfiltered thoughts in the comment section down below. Like and share this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching until here. Until next time, bye.